From roads to highways, we're talking about the importance of transportation. Hello, I'm Mayor Skip Hall. Welcome to my Councilor Conversation Show. As Surprise grows, so does its need for transportation solutions. Proposition 400 was instrumental in relieving congestion and adding new connections to our city. Today I have the Executive Director of Maricopa Association of Governments, Eric Anderson, here to talk about what the organization is doing to help with transportation issues across the county and Proposition 400's role in that. Welcome, Eric.
Thank you, Mayor. Very nice to be here.
So you're the Executive Director of MAG, or Maricopa Association of Governments. Could you explain to our residents what that organization is and how the mayors work into forming policy and how you direct it?
Sure, be happy to. So the Maricopa Association of Governments is a designated metropolitan planning organization for the region. And
Okay.
Our region includes all of Maricopa County and major parts of Pinal County. And one of our major responsibilities under our Metropolitan Planning Organization designation is long-range transportation planning.
Okay.
So we're required under federal law to prepare a long-range, has to be at least 20 years, transportation plan for the region. We just completed that last year. Our new plan goes out to the year 2050. And as part of that plan, we also developed an investment program if the voters want to extend our dedicated sales tax here in Maricopa County.
Okay, great. So can you please educate our residents on what Proposition 400 has done for Surprise?
Certainly be happy to. So Prop 400, there's actually a proposition before that, Proposition 300, which was passed in 1985, went into effect in January 1st of 86. And Prop 300 is the funding source that built most of the 101 and 202 loops that we have here in the valley.
Okay.
It also built a temporary roadway for Loop 303. When Prop 400 was renewed, that was renewed by the voters in 2004, much of that funding went in to build Loop 303 around the Northwest Valley, which certainly supports the growth and economic development here in Surprise. So
yes.
Loop 303 was a major investment by the region to the tune of $1.5 billion or so of both regional and federal funds went into that project.
And that goes from Interstate 10 to Interstate 17, correct?
That's correct. Eventually it'll connect to the south to State Route 30, which is planned about 5 miles south of Interstate 10 to help relieve some of the traffic pressures we see in Interstate 10 today.
Absolutely.
Very significant, no doubt
It's
about
significant.
it. Yes.
There were 2 legislative bills dropped this season, and one made it to the governor's desk, and he vetoed it, which threw us back on our heels a little bit.
It certainly did.
But what projects were on the bill for Surprise in Proposition 400 extension?
Well, there were a number of projects that had direct benefit to Surprise, and much of the funding, almost $850 million in the extension, was programmed to build the remaining pieces of Loop 303. Including the major connection with I-17. That's a temporary connection today.
Right.
That's a $200+ million project in and of itself.
Okay.
And that's needed to support the Taiwanese semiconductor manufacturing facility that's under construction, which certainly will benefit Surprise and the whole north and northwest part of the region. So that's a very important project. In addition, the US 60 303 connection out here in Surprise, which is also was an interim connection. We didn't have quite enough money to build it the way it needed to be built.
Right.
And traffic volumes weren't quite there yet, but they are now. That facility needs to be built as it should be, a true freeway-to-freeway connection.
Yes.
There. So that's another good example of a project that's funded as part of the extension of Prop 400.
And then I think, Eric, North Surprise is growing crazy. I mean, it's just something. And so we have an issue of people getting out of that North Surprise without going on 163rd. And so I think Litchfield Road, that connection was part of that too,
that's
right?
Correct. That's correct.
That's huge.
Yeah. In addition, there are a number of improvements on Grand Avenue. So, as you know, as part of Prop 400, the overpass at Bell Road and Grand Avenue was constructed,
right,
which relieved a major congestion point on Grand Avenue. There are other projects that programmed like that up and down Grand Avenue too, to continue to try to make Grand Avenue a much better thoroughfare for the region, including improvements at 103rd and 111th Avenue that serves the Sun City areas too.
Right.
And so those are really important projects too.
Right.
Those are also funded out of the extension.
Yeah, Sun City and Sun City West are big customers of Surprise.
Yes.
They do a lot of retail business in Surprise.
Absolutely.
So the easier it is for them to get here, the better it is for our city.
Certainly.
So
one of the components that we put in the extension too was significantly more funding for bus transportation too, which you can buy the buses and federal funds can be used to buy buses,
right.
but you need money to operate. Pay
Yes.
the driver, put fuel in the bus, and buy tires and all those
Right.
sorts of things that go
Right.
along with that. So we incorporated a significant amount of new funding to expand the bus service we have here in the valley.
Okay.
We have major areas, this area out here, what I call a transit desert.
right.
And we need to provide some basic public transportation services in some of these areas in the future too.
Right. I agree. So what's the next step now that the bill has been vetoed?
Well, we're working on that now, and so there's a number of strategies. We have to go to the legislature. We have to have legislative authority to put this measure on the ballot for Maricopa County. Maricopa County is the only county in the state that needs that authorization.
Right.
And you might ask, well, why is that? Well, Maricopa County is the biggest dog in the state, no doubt
Right.
about it.
Right.
And we represent well over 60% of the population, almost 70% of the economic activity. And so the legislature has a lot of interest in what happens here. And I will say, with the investments the region has made since 1985 in transportation, it has really enabled the economic development, not only in this region, which we see every day, cranes up everywhere, but it has also significantly improved the economic development in the state of Arizona too.
Yes.
And so it's a really important funding source to have. And we continue, Maricopa County continues to be one of the fastest growing counties
Right.
in the country, right?
Exactly.
And we can't just say, well, we've done our work now and now we just sit back. No, we have to keep expanding what we have. And in addition, we're reaching the point we have to do some reconstruction.
Okay.
So there's parts of Interstate 17 that were built in the late 1950s, actually. And some of those sections of Interstate 17 need to be completely rebuilt.
Yeah.
Because they're deteriorating. And so expensive propositions, no doubt about it. It takes money to do that.
Yes, it does. I got to say, Eric, you got a tough job, and I really respect what you do. And I know that how many people are on that represent the cities? 20? Is there 20 of us? 22 of us?
27 cities and towns.
27 towns.
27 cities and towns.
Yeah.
2 counties, Maricopa and Pinal County, are both members, as well as 3 native nations: the Gila River Indian Community, Salt River, Pima Maricopa Indian Community, and the Yavapai Nation.
Yeah.
So we're very proud of that. And the size of our organization, we can still get all the decision makers around the table and have robust debates about whether it be transportation. We do a lot of work in the homeless side, domestic violence, and other areas too.
Right.
And so, again, we can get all the decision makers around the table and have that discussion and come out with good solutions for the region.
Yeah, and the mayors have to look at it regionally to be healthy. And I know that's a real challenge sometimes when you have a mayor like Phoenix has 1.5 million people, and a mayor like Litchfield Park that has 5,500 people.
Correct.
Okay,
Correct.
I mean, there's
big difference.
Big difference.
And they all have unique needs too, and we can't lose track of that. I tell my staff that although we do transportation planning, and some people say, well, that's just engineering. It isn't. It's about people.
Yeah, it is.
Fundamentally, transportation is about people, and we always have to keep that in mind too.
Yes.
And so, how do we provide better service for the constituents here in Maricopa County is our utmost mission, and we hope we achieve that. Given the kind of growth we have here, Technology is going to play a big role. So
Yes.
we have plans to fund emerging technologies.
Great.
So we take advantage of some of these new things out there
Right.
that we think will significantly improve traffic flow in the valley.
Oh yeah, I think absolutely. Eric, I know we're one of the largest counties and highest growth county in the United States, but how do we compare with other growth areas like Atlanta or San Diego or Dallas or?
Well, we actually do fairly well, and that's really directly attributable to our regional investments we've made in transportation for almost 40 years now here in the region. And so Texas Transportation Institute, for example, does a biennial survey of major metro areas, and they have a bunch of objective factors in terms of how they measure congestion, delay, and things like that. We always rank, we're about the 12th, 11th, 12th, 13th largest metro area in the country.
Okay.
And our congestion levels are ranked way down, like 40th and 50th.
Is that right?
Yeah,
Wow.
we just do amazingly well here. And there's a couple of reasons for that. One is we think we have a good basic transportation system. Our highways, our arterial streets, which are laid out like a grid, give us a tremendous capacity to move a tremendous number of people around the region. And
Yep.
so we are very proud of that, and I think that's attributable to, once again, the investments we made historically. And it pays off. So if you go to Atlanta, Houston, Seattle, Denver, they all have significantly worse congestion than we have here.
I see.
The other thing that helps us, quite frankly, is unlike the older eastern cities, which developed when the horse was the
Right.
primary mode of transportation. And so activities needed to be concentrated, and that's why we have highly concentrated downtowns in the older cities. We don't have that here.
Right.
In fact, our downtown Phoenix, really has undergone a rebirth lately, but that's relatively new, right? And so we have activity centers distributed around the region. And so certainly you can identify the Scottsdale Air Park as one that people always point to, major employment center. And what it does, it spreads out that economic activity, concentrates it in these what we call nodes of economic activity, but it also spreads out the traffic, right? And so we often have, like on the 101, we have more people commuting toward the air park in the morning and away from the air park in the evening, which is different than you typically see in the east. Yeah, it's flipped, right?
Is.
And that's because we have this distributed employment and we have distributed traffic. It makes it more difficult to serve with public transportation because you have a lot of origins and a lot of destinations and around, rather than everybody wanting to go into a downtown area. Right. So it makes it more difficult for public transportation, but from an economic efficiency standpoint, it works really, really well.
Yeah.
And so in our arterial streets, which, before we had freeways, when I grew up here, we had to drive on the streets all the time. We didn't have freeways. But what that arterial
Bell
street...
Road was dirt road out here, by the way.
Right. Yeah, I remember, actually. And we have this arterial grid system that people can use. It's not quite as fast as a freeway, but it gets you where you want to go, and it's easy to find your way around.
Yes.
We've heard from newcomers who come here and they say, "I love your grid streets because it's easy for me to get around."
Right.
And people will translate that into feeling safer in their neighborhoods too.
Yep.
So the implications of having a good transportation system go way beyond being able to get to the grocery store in a short amount of time. It has a major influence on our quality of life here in the region.
Sure. Well, listen, Eric, I know you're a busy guy. Thank you for taking the time to come out here and on this hot day and speak to us about MAG, because it's a very important organization.
Yeah.
And so...
I'll talk about transportation pretty much anytime to anybody. So anytime I'm here. Thank you.
Great. And thank you for watching. If you have questions or comments for me, I would love to hear from you. You can call or email me anytime, and I welcome you to sign up for my newsletter, which is filled with the latest city news and information. To sign up, just click on the notifications link on my website. Thanks for watching.